Good morning. I'm Dawn McCormick, Director of Communications for Waste Management here in Florida, and we are pleased to be sponsoring today's webinar. As North America's largest residential recycler, we work daily with our valued customers to help them recycle right, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, let's look a little bit at the global markets. We all know about the environmental benefits of recycling and the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that each material reduces. Metal, paper, and plastic all have really valuable contributions to make to the environment in terms of the significant savings of greenhouse gas emissions and using less virgin material to make new products. It's also important to know that end markets do matter. If a product isn't recyclable into a new product, it's really not recycling. And there must be demand for the finished products to be made with recycled content. And we can all do our part in that way. It's important to look back over the last couple of years in recycling when we did have some challenging times. In 2017, China was taking about 27% of the world's recyclables, but began to slowly close its doors fairly abruptly. And by 2020, only 2% of the material is going to China. The good news is that material is now staying domestically, 81% in fact in 2020. Waste Management is pleased to say that 100% of the plastics that we recycle stay here in the United States, and about 75% of the cardboard and paper stays here too. There's been a lot of investment in new mills and new capacity, and that's great news for the recycling industry. And the commodity values reflect this China challenge. If you look at the pricing of an average bale and how it dipped in 2018 and 2019 to well below $40 a ton, we understand why recycling was in a bit of a challenging period. But the good news is that's over. With the domestic capacity that we've built, commodities now are bringing in about $96 a ton and still on the upswing. The economics of recycling are now positive. Cities and counties are doing much better with their programs, and recycling is both environmentally and economically sustainable once again. And companies are investing in technology, including Waste Management. This is our fourth year of investing over $100 million a year in recycling facilities and infrastructure. We've created and built 5 new MRFs since 2018. We've upgraded another 20, and we've spent $50 million installing 96 new and upgraded optical sorters and robotics in our facilities. In Florida alone, we've invested millions of dollars, including $2.5 million in Ruta Recycling in Pembroke Pines. That facility is the largest recycling facility in the southeastern United States. It processes material from Broward County and Miami-Dade County. We also have a facility in Tampa Bay that has its own education station. WM Recycling Brevard is a relatively new facility that's processing material from the northeastern part of the state. And we have 4 C&D recycling facilities and an organics recycling facility in Okeechobee. One thing I want to talk briefly about is this is not recycling. When you put garbage in your curbside recycling, it causes a host of problems. We spend about 140,000 hours each year cleaning plastic bags and hoses and holiday lights out of our star screens. Our workers have to go down into the machinery multiple times a day to try to cut out material that doesn't belong inside a recycling facility. And we have fires. We get propane tanks and rechargeable batteries and lithium-ion batteries. And the photo here shows a fire that we had at our Ruta Recycling facility in March of 2021 that caused hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage and had us shut down for multiple weeks. Rechargeable batteries and lithium-ion batteries are a huge source of fires in our MRFs, along with other materials that simply should not be recycled. For a look at what can be recycled, please feel free to go to wm.com/recycleright. We have recycling tips, we have curriculum for school children, and we have information for homeowners and businesses about how to recycle right. Along with our Recycle Right website, I want to take a moment now to bring you home to my kitchen to give you a little practical tips on how you can recycle right at home. In order for recycling to remain environmentally and economically sustainable, it's important to follow these simple rules. Recycle only clean, dry, and empty cardboard and paper, bottles, and cans. And now a little bit more specific on that. Of course, as you're getting newspapers still at home, make sure you recycle those. Any junk mail you receive that you don't need any longer, as well as magazines and periodicals, all recyclable. And all the paperboard that you have in your cupboard at home, this is all recyclable. Just take the packaging out outside. Those pizza boxes, they're recyclable if they're clean inside. No grease and cheese and inserts. Make sure they're empty, but then you can recycle those. And of course, all the e-commerce boxes you're getting at home, make sure you flatten them, take out the packing material, but then the flattened box is recyclable. It's important to recycle all of the plastics that we can, and those really center on containers. So think of your laundry detergent, your water bottles are of course recyclable, milk jugs, juice jugs are all recyclable, again, clean and empty. And then things that you might have in your bathroom or shower that are narrow neck and plastic, these are all recyclable containers. Aluminum and steel cans, very important to recycle. Aluminum cans can be back on our shelves in 60 days if we recycle those. And there's a shortage right now of cans in this country, so make sure you're recycling your aluminum cans, as well as your steel cans, again, clean, dry, and empty for those. And finally, glass. You've got glass bottles, you've got containers that you have other food items in. You can recycle glass in most of the locations in Florida, so you do recycle glass. And then, when in doubt, throw it out. It's also important to know what's not recyclable curbside. Plastic bags and plastic film cannot be recycled at home curbside. You can take them back to a retailer that source separates them, but please do not try to recycle these at home. They get clogged in the machinery and they ruin the good recyclables. Also, do not bag your recyclables. They need to be clean, dry, and loose in your container at home. One thing we see a lot of at our recycling facilities are tanglers. That can be Christmas tree lights or hoses and cords. These, again, tangle up the machinery and really wreak havoc in recycling. All of these types of things, tanglers, are garbage. Please dispose of them. We get a lot of hangers, both plastic and metal. Anything that's not a can and it's metal has to go in the garbage. These are trashed. We see lots of little pieces of plastic. Again, only plastic bottles. These types of things go in the garbage. Polystyrene also is not recyclable curbside. Please trash that. And any container that still has food in it and a residue of food, that needs to go in the garbage, not your recycling container. So remember to recycle right, and when in doubt, it's better to throw it out in the garbage. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sue Black, and I'm the recycling coordinator for Indian River County. So the Solid Waste Disposal District of Indian River County has been actively participating in the RAP program since January of 2019. We were originally approached by Chris Perry of FDEP and Sherry Jackson to participate in the pilot program, and we quickly committed to building a greater awareness of plastic film recycling in our community, as well as reducing the amount of film packaging being inappropriately placed in our curbside recycling bins. First steps included getting out press releases and launching a very comprehensive and successful marketing campaign to include tip cards, flyers and inserts, radio and television advertising, and other promotional materials. The county worked closely with the Rotary Club of Vero Beach, who adopted the initiative to provide film receptacles to all 20 public schools and the 5 charter schools, as well as their administrative buildings. Volunteers from the schools take the full bags of film to a nearby public supermarket. The district data shows that on average, approximately 120 bags per month of film are diverted from the landfill. With the support of Republic Services, We have been consistently collecting loose plastic film at all 5 of our customer convenience centers and the Main County landfill. Our recycling processor, St. Lucie County Solid Waste Baling and Recycling Facility, has been accepting the source separated film with an end market for the material. We have far exceeded our original goal of 5 in 5, in which we were to have 5 commercial businesses implementing film recycling within 5 months. As you can see from the ever-growing list of participants, we continue to provide collection receptacles to many commercial entities within the community. With the partnership and help of Coastal Connections of Vero Beach, there continues to be an increased awareness of loose plastic film recycling among beachside commercial businesses. As a result of support and very effective education, we are now collecting, on average, approximately 4,000 pounds of loose film every month, with an occasional influx due to large drop-offs. Contamination rates continue to be very low, with the greatest misconception still being pet food bags. Overall, Indian River County is excited to report successful growth in loose film collection since the implementation of the WRAP campaign, and we remain committed to continued participation in both our residential and our commercial sectors. Thanks very much, everybody, for giving me the opportunity to speak today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paula Rubiano, and I am the Digital Media Manager for the City of Coral Springs. Today, I want to talk to you about our city's new recycling program and how we are amplifying that message in an educational manner to our community. During the pandemic, when the city switched to waste to energy due to escalating costs and high contamination rates, our community voiced their frustration and their concerns for not processing recycling in the city. It was our city commission who directed staff that should the commodity for recycled products improve, Coral Springs would resume curbside recycling. And so we have. Thankfully, commodity values have increased tremendously, making it a great opportunity for the city to resume our recycling program through a phased approach. We were so thrilled to bring back curbside recycling on November 1st, 2021 for single-family and low-density multifamily homes in Coral Springs. In other words, any resident who uses rollout cart plays curbside. The only way to be effective and efficient is for our residents to recycle right, which means discarding only approved, clean, and dry recycling items in their recycling bins, and this can be quite a challenge, especially during the holidays. So, we are doing everything we can to educate our residents about recycling right and providing opportunities to recycle with curbside and drop-off recycling collection locations in Coral Springs. As a city, we re-implemented our newly rebranded Recycle Right educational campaign. We decided to change the logo and the look of the campaign to make it more eye-catching and different from past recycling campaigns. We have modernized our social strategy to increase exposure on our Instagram stories with short interactive video clips, polls, and FAQs. We also began to push holiday-themed videos on our YouTube channel, Nextdoor, and Facebook platforms. Here's an example of our Halloween PSA. Hope you guys enjoyed that. During the holidays, we will also focus on quick static holiday-related recycling tips and information, such as is wrapping paper recyclable, or what to do with all the cardboard boxes from online shopping. Additionally, a recycling tent will be present at our events to educate and answer resident questions. Our goal is to have an activity or call to action at every event. An example might be kids will have the opportunity to compete against their parents by placing items into the recycling bin. At another event, residents will be invited to bring a sampling of their recyclables to be evaluated and educated on. We are also developing a youth-focused program called Citizens of Change. The idea is to develop a bi-yearly campaign for our commission to educate school children on recyclables and contaminants in an effort to empower children to educate their parents on how to recycle right at home. Even though our curbside recycling program at the moment is only focused on single-family homes, all residents can drop off recycling at our stationary recycling centers throughout the city. In the first quarter of 2022, city staff will return to the commission with additional options and feedback regarding multifamily residents. We hope with our efforts, we can see a drop in our contamination rates. Our cost will be determined after recycling material is audited in January. Thank you so much for your time, and for more information on our recycling program, please visit coralsprings.org/recycle. And as always, follow us on social media at Coral Springs FL.
Good morning. My name is Don Gibbons, and I am the president for Goodwill, Minnesota, representing the Florida Goodwill Association. It is a pleasure to share some information regarding recycling and apparel donations during Florida Recycles Week. In 1902, Reverend Edgar J. Helms founded Goodwill. He believed in a hand up, not a handout, and that Goodwill was not a charity, but a chance. Today, the 9 Goodwill agencies operating in Florida work with their local communities to fulfill on Reverend Helms's vision. This is only possible with community support, specifically the donations of gently used clothing, shoes, housewares, and a variety of other items Goodwill receives daily. Each of the 9 Goodwill agencies in Florida are autonomous 501c3 nonprofit organizations. They have a local volunteer board, and each has a local CEO. The donations Goodwill receives stay in the local communities, generating revenues to support the organization and various mission programs. Goodwill is a social enterprise, a business with a social purpose. For example, Goodwill Minnesota's mission is changing lives through the power of work. This slide details some statewide statistics regarding Goodwill's community impact. In 2020, Goodwill placements totaled more than $485 million in income for Floridians and their families. We believe that work creates that economic energy that builds vibrant communities. Work builds self-confidence, relationships, and independence. Everyone deserves a chance to have those things in life, and Goodwill provides that chance. Approximately 50% of the revenues in Goodwill stores come from the sale of apparel. The donated clothing is inspected for quality, and the items that meet those standards for sale are stocked on the sales floor. The items that do not meet quality standards or that do not sell are generally moved to an outlet where they are sold by the pound, or to a salvage operation where the clothing is baled and sold to salvage vendors for additional grading or export. As you can see, in addition to apparel, there are a great number of other items that are recycled or salvaged to keep your donations out of the landfill. I appreciate the opportunity to share some high-level information regarding Goodwill and the apparel donations that our community provides. If you would like to learn more, please contact us through our social media platforms or contact me directly. Thank you again for participating in Florida Recycles Week, and thank you for your support of Goodwill.
Hi, thank you, Don. And I want to thank my fellow panelists, Sue from Indian River County, Paula from Coral Springs, and Don from the Goodwill organization. And you do so much good work in the community. Thank you. We are going to open it up for questions from those of you who have joined us. Please type it into the chat. and we'll be happy to answer some of your questions. But as we're waiting for some of those questions to come in, Paula, you might just tell us a little bit more too about how your residents handled first recycling going away, but then coming back. I'd love to hear a little bit about your residents' reaction to the November 1st reinstatement of recycling.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, when we announced that recycling kind of had stopped, well, it was going to energy, we had a lot of angry residents. And I think a lot of other communities also felt that anger from those who actually care about recycling. So what I think made it helpful with this anger is that when we announced, we had a lot of happy residents. So the word was already out that we had stopped. So when we announced, it was easier to make residents happier, and they kind of have been helping spread the word a little bit. Nextdoor has been a huge platform for us to actually communicate with residents. So it has been very helpful. We've also now included ourselves in like groups in Facebook where a lot of people have been discussing recycling. So hopefully, it's only been 16 days. So as we move forward, hopefully during the holidays, we really try to target those, tree lights and all that stuff. So we'll see how we do.
I will say, I thought your graphics looked really crisp and clean and sharp. So congratulations on that. I do see a question that came in from Willie Puz, who's our colleague at Solid Waste Authority. Many of us know him. So he was asking about how Indian River County collects the plastic bags and plastic material from the businesses to recycle.
That's a great question. And logistically speaking, collection of the film is difficult because it is a commitment from the individual business owner. And so the way it works in Indian River County is when that film is collected by a specific business, they have the option to either bring it to a customer convenience center and leave it there, or they can bring it out to the main county landfill. But in essence, it is up to the actual business to be committed in order to collect and deliver that film.
Okay, great. And then there was another follow-up question on that. What percentage of plastic film waste is collected through drop-off systems? I don't know an overarching number. Sue, do you have an idea about that?
I don't have an overarching number on that, but it is a good question. And
I think it's fair to say that there's a tremendous amount of plastic film out there. We definitely salute the American Chemistry Council and their WRAP program that Sue is using. I think there's a lot of effort out there to continue to recycle more of our plastics. I think you all know in Florida here that even though we've made strides in our recycling rate over the years, we're still getting often less than 20% of our plastic water bottles per se in Florida. So we're all work hard on this. We have a lot of work to do, but we continue to look later this week on Thursday and Friday. I know one of the sessions is going to be recycling on the go. And I think there's a strong belief that we continue to do better. We need to do better about bringing back our water bottles from home. If we can't recycle on the go, bring them back from the beach, bring them back from the park, that kind of thing. But good question on the percentages. There was a question from the recycled plastic bags and film. Are they being collected at the schools, and what are they used for?
So yes, each of our schools has a receptacle for plastic film and bags, and they have one of their staff at the school, usually about a monthly basis, that will give us some data, some feedback on how much they've collected. And then that particular person usually brings that to a convenience center or even a Publix for drop off. So another participant. So yes.
I see a question in here about pizza boxes, and I'll answer it. I'll send it to Paula too. But listen, I know we've confused people in the industry on pizza boxes. There's absolutely no question about it. But the current guidance is, at least from waste management standpoint across North America, is that we want your pizza boxes as long as they don't have actual food residue or crust or paper. We can handle that little bit of grease. And I think that changed a little bit because we wanted them really clean. Like my message earlier in that video was from I cut that a little earlier. We wanted them a little bit cleaner, but cardboard right now is so valuable, and our Pratt Industries and those who take our fiber really need that recycled content to make new e-commerce boxes. So the manufacturers are telling us, hey, we can handle a little bit of grease. So that's why the guidance has changed. It's not so much us on the front line, it's who we sell the product to. And they're so almost desperate for recycled content that they're willing to work with that little bit of grease. So Paul, I don't know if that's the guidance you're giving your residents. I know we're not always consistent, but.
So right now, as we start, we are taking a little more aggressive approach. We're trying to avoid any food contamination. So those who really care about recycling, do a pretty good job. So we don't have to worry about those residents. It's the residents who don't know how to recycle. So we're trying to educate, kind of avoiding the pizza box at the moment, just to avoid contamination rates. So that's pretty much our approach right now.
And we do understand on the consistency. I think what the cities and counties on their side of things, the contamination has gotten so high around the country, around the state. Broward County, Miami-Dade County, we really do run about 30% inbound contamination. So in order to keep their programs more affordable, I think, like you said, Paula, you've got to be kind of take a tighter path, a little narrower path. So it is a little bit of a tap dance, but good questions. And we'll try as we go down the road on this to be as consistent as possible. And there was a question about drop-offs in Miami-Dade County. I will refer you to the Miami-Dade County website, their solid waste director. Some of you may know Jean Marie Massey is their solid or recycling coordinator. She's very good at what she does. So their website's up to date. They'll give you all their information on drop-off. There was a question about, would it be better to reduce use of plastic film waste? In California, the vast majority of take-back bins aren't there anymore. So Sue, I don't, any feelings in general about, the first of the R's is reduce. So how do we go about that?
So here in Indian River County, we actually teach 5 hours. So the first R being rethink. So rethink before you even use that product. So the second one would be refuse. Refuse to use the plastic bag altogether. And then reduce, reuse, and what should come last, recycling instead of first. And that is the big paradigm shift. So I totally agree that I would try anything possible to eliminate the use of plastic bags. Plastic film, on the other hand, is a little bit harder because we do have so much packaging that comes in our stores with the plastic film. But the positivity there is that it is recyclable, just not in your food cart.
And we had a question about, any of us have opinions about how to recycle instructions on consumer packaging. Don, I'm going to bring you in and ask a little bit from the Goodwill's perspective. How do you interface with manufacturers and packaging, and would that be helpful to you?
So we don't have a lot of direct interaction with manufacturers and packaging. It's usually the donors that we are, happy to accept their unwanted and gently used goods to then put back into our stores, and also to then partner with, Waste Management and other recyclers to divert as much out of the landfills as possible. So, I think going back to what Sue just said, is that I really like that rethink and refuse, and I think that'll help serve us all very well. But we don't unfortunately have that kind of muscle. We're on the receiving end of what consumers bring us within our 67 counties here in Florida, and we appreciate it very much.
Any other comments on the how to recycle? I'll just say from our standpoint, Waste Management is North America's largest recycler. We work with a lot of the packaging companies and Packaging Institute. We want to recycle everything that has an end market. The brands are obviously being pushed a little bit to make sure their packaging is recyclable. So we are working closely with them, and but it does have to be able to be recycled and have an end market. The final question, there was a question about glass, and again, that's one where some of our cities and counties are recycling glass, some are not. Most of the glass that Waste Management brings in goes to Strategic Materials outside of Sarasota. Some of it, if the pieces are large enough, can have a beneficial reuse in terms of into new materials. Otherwise, it goes to beneficial reuse in a landfill. So glass continues to be challenging, but at the same time, we do accept it in our programs in most cases. And Paula, how did you decide? Are you keeping glass in initially?
Yes, we actually added glass when we just launched again. People have been taking it really well.
Good, thank you. Well, I think we are up on our time. We could go longer, but we want to first of all appreciate everybody who joined us today. I want to thank my fellow folks on the panel, Paula and Sue and Don, for your expertise in your areas and for the great work you're doing in recycling. I want to thank FDEP and the Florida Recycling Partnership Foundation for co-sponsoring this entire week of Florida Recycles Week. Every day we are doing a webinar at 11 a.m. The same item that and link that you used this morning would be good for you the rest of the week. Tomorrow on Wednesday, there is a press conference live from the state capitol, and FDEP will be presenting its recycling awards. The partnership will have its recycling champion awards. We really encourage you to join that half hour from the capitol. And again, I want to thank you all for a great morning, and keep recycling right. And let's work together to continue to do a better job here in Florida and make some great headway for both the environment and for the sustainability of recycling here in the state. So thank you all and have a great day, everyone. Stay safe.